everyone, and welcome to the Zach Drew Show. As you can probably tell, I'm not Zach Drew, and we are not in the studio today. Today, we are shooting from the comfort of my living room. Now, the reason for that is because Zach has suffered actually a pretty serious injury. He has completely severed the Achilles tendon in his leg. In the meantime, I've agreed to cover a couple of shows for him over the next 2 weeks. I want to start out the content for today's show by playing a clip from Glenn Beck. Now, recently on his show, he interviewed Tristan Harris. We've talked about Tristan Harris before on the show. He's one of the co-founders of the Center for Humane Technology.
So this is a quote from Dario Amodei, who is CEO of Anthropic. Anthropic is one of the leading AI players. So he gives this metaphor that AI is like a country of geniuses in a data center. So just like the way I think of that, imagine a world map and a new country pops up onto the world stage with a population of 10 million digital beings, not humans, but digital beings. And because of these competitive pressures, the companies, these major, OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, et cetera, Anthropic, are caught in this race to roll out this technology as fast as possible. So they used to, for example, have red lines saying, hey, we're not going to release an AI model that's good at superhuman levels of persuasion. The AI companies are erasing those past red lines and pretending that they never existed.
So this is actually crazy. Because of the pressure of competition, these AI engineers are pulling what Tristan referred to as these red lines. They're basically the fail-safes that keep these AI engines from becoming a science fiction dystopian writer's worst nightmare. The things that, keep AI from turning against humanity, those are the lines in the sand that these engineers are wiping from their programming.
If you tell a model, hey, we need to shut you down, and and you tell the model like you should accept the shutdown command, in some percentage of cases, the leading models are now avoiding and preventing that shutdown. And in recent examples, I think just a few days ago, Anthropic found that if you I can't remember what prompt they gave it, but basically it started blackmailing the engineers. So it found out in the company emails that one of the executives in the simulated environment had an extramarital affair, and in 96, I think, % of cases, they blackmailed the engineers.
I really believe that the end goal for the tech elite of the world is to create completely synthetic, so completely fake human beings that run totally on AI. All right, now that I've said the crazy thing, let me try and provide you some information and some data to back that up. Let's jump into this first article. Meet the dystopian startups making biological computers from human cells. This is insane. Picture a dystopian future where computers don't just mimic human thinking, but they're powered by actual human brain cells. That future is taking shape in a Cambridge, England lab where a groundbreaking device called CL1 is blending biology and technology in ways that could transform how we compute. Developed by Australian startup Cortical Labs and UK-based Bit.bio, this shoebox-sized machine houses 200,000 lab-grown brain cells wired to silicon circuits, creating a biological computer that's already turning heads. Work begins to create artificial human DNA from scratch. Work has begun on a controversial project to create the building blocks of human life from scratch in what is believed to be a world first. The research has been taboo until now because of concerns it could lead to designer babies or unforeseen changes for future generations. Quote, if we manage to create synthetic body parts or even synthetic people, then who owns them? And he declares those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast, who was wounded by the sword and lived. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. I believe that Satan wants to be like God in every way. And I believe that Satan wants to be worshipped in the same way that God is worshipped. Now, when I read a passage like this, what it reminds me of is the story of creation in Genesis, where God said that he made mankind what? He made mankind in his image. I believe that Satan wants to create a perverted version of that. And I believe that's what the image of the beast is. I mean, look at the language of that. He wants to make something in his image and breathe life into it. Now, I believe that Satan not only wants to make a perverted version of humanity, I also believe that Satan wants to reshape humanity in his image. That's, I think, really the push behind transhumanism. And we know that in the last days, the beast system is going to have complete and total control over everyone. And I think a key component to both of these things, remaking humanity in the image of Satan and also controlling humanity with this beast system, I think a key point in this are these BCIs that we're seeing with companies like Neuralink. We've talked a lot about Neuralink in the past. I'm going to go into one article to dive into a little bit of what they're doing and what they hope to accomplish. Elon Musk put a chip in this paralyzed man's brain. Now he can move things with his mind. Should we be amazed or terrified? An accident left Nolan Arbaugh paralyzed, but Musk's Neuralink brain implant allows him to control computers with his thoughts. Is it a life-changing innovation that could help millions, or the start of a dystopia where a billionaire can access our thoughts? Although relentlessly positive, Nolan recognizes the dark possibilities of the technology lodged in his brain. Neuralink says it doesn't monitor his brain or track what he does online, but warned him that someone might be able to reverse engineer the data produced by his neurons to work out what he's been looking at. Quote, "With that in mind, I keep it very PG," he says. When I ask him what a bad use of a BCI might be, he reels off a list. Mind control, body control. At this point, it's only reading my signals, but it will be able to write at some point. That's the scary part. It's as if the ability to read our thoughts was not scary enough. A stated goal of Neuralink is actually to write new thoughts into our brain. Sending signals into the brain can be scary. You could make people see anything, experience different feelings, emotions, hallucinations. Musk is excited about a future where Neuralink sends signals to the brain. He explored the possibilities with Isaacson. Quote, "Want to see infrared, ultraviolet? How about radio waves or radar?" In a presentation in 2022, Musk described how the ability for Neuralink to write on the brain would allow someone born blind to see. Now, back in 2022, this was an idea that he was openly talking about, but now it is becoming a reality, and in fact, the next step that Neuralink is taking in the development of their technology. Let's watch this clip.
In a new update, Elon Musk's brain implant company Neuralink has revealed the future of human vision. They call it blind sight, and while the idea might resemble something from the fictional world of Star Trek, Neuralink is working hard to bring this technology into real life, and it's happening right now. The company's latest update was broadcast from inside their surgical robot workshop. These are machines that have spent the past year implanting computer chips into real human brains. Neuralink now has 7 human patients living with the implant, 4 with spinal cord injuries, 3 with ALS. All of them are using the Link device independently from home. Some are logging more than 100 hours a week, with an average usage of about 50 hours. These aren't test sessions, they are real-world hours, and they are scaling fast. And for the first time, we have a roadmap for what Neuralink plans to accomplish with these human trials. By the end of this year, Neuralink implants will move from the motor control region of the brain to implants that target the speech cortex. This would hopefully allow Neuralink to decode words directly from thoughts in real time.
So in 2022, they had 1 person with an implant. Now they have 7 people that they have implanted these brain-computer interfaces into their brains, and they are operating computers with their minds, and they're logging between 50 and 100 hours a week. But it doesn't stop there, and Neuralink is now trying to write new information into the brain to try and solve blindness. Let's watch this clip.
But the standout of the list has to be blind sight. Not only because we're talking about literally curing blindness or straight up providing vision to people who don't have eyes, this is all set to begin just a few months from now. So here's what that looks like. Blind sight requires two new pieces of hardware. The first is a pair of camera-equipped glasses, essentially the same thing that we've already seen in those Meta Ray-Bans. Those camera glasses connect wirelessly with a smartphone, which is going to translate the digital image into input signals, which then get sent via Bluetooth into the Neuralink implant. This is a new chip. Neuralink calls it S2, designed for stimulation of the brain. Every other Neuralink that has been implanted in a human has been an output device. It reads the electrical signals from the brain and sends that information to a computer. The S2 will take computer information and convert it into electrical signals that get delivered into the brain tissue, essentially thousands of microelectric shocks that stimulate the neurons into action.
So I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Inception. It is a movie by Christopher Nolan. It's kind of a science fiction movie. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio. And in the movie, he plays a man who uses futuristic technology to be able to enter people's minds while they're dreaming. And he does this to steal state secrets, and he sells it to the highest bidder. And you can imagine how that would put a dark stain on his record. Well, in the movie, he takes on an impossible job in a last-ditch effort to clear his name so that he can live a normal life with his daughter. And this impossible task that he's taking on is called inception. Now, the concept of inception is planting an idea so deeply and so untraceably into someone's mind that they actually believe it is their own original thought. What we're seeing with technology like Neuralink is the pursuit to be able to write feelings, to be able to create visions, and to be able to write ideas and thoughts into people's minds. Now, something we talk about a lot when we talk about end time prophecy is this idea of a great delusion that's going to come over the world. Now, I believe that essentially that is we've talked about how there's different types of judgment from God. And one of those types of judgment is God removing himself and allowing people to fall to their own vices. I believe the delusion of the last days is going to probably be something like that, where God gives people over to unrighteousness, and we are just going to see an increase in ungodliness and unrighteousness. But how much easier is it going to be for a system like the beast system to gain control over people if people have brain chips that are feeding them thoughts, that are feeding them feelings, that are giving them visions, that are making them experience a reality that is more real than anything that they have experienced before? Kind of like the hallucinogenics that we know today, kind of like DMT, or otherwise known as ayahuasca, that gives people these out-of-body spiritual experiences that to them feel more real than reality itself. We're talking about a technology now that will have the capability of making you feel the highest high you've ever felt, of implanting thoughts in your brain where you don't know, was that from me or was that from this chip that's implanted in me? This is all part of the fourth industrial revolution. We've talked a lot about this before. I'm just going to briefly go through it. The first industrial revolution was from 1760 to around 1840. It was the Industrial Revolution. It was marked by the rise of the iron and textile industries and the development of the steam engine. The process of going from hand production to machine production Then we have the second industrial revolution from 1870 to 1914, known as the technological revolution. This was marked by public electricity, the light bulb, the telephone, internal combustion engine, which led to cars and airplanes. And by the way, life as we know it completely changed with each one of these industrial revolutions. Imagine your life without public electricity. Imagine your life without the invention of the light bulb or the telephone. It would be unfathomable. And yet, there was a time before that. So with each new industrial revolution, we change our lives as we know it. Now, the third industrial revolution, starting in the 1980s, was named the digital revolution, and it was characterized as moving from analog, electric, and mechanical devices to digital technology. It encompasses many things, but it is best known for the personal computer and the internet. Imagine your life today without the internet. What we have entered into is the fourth industrial revolution. And that's what's going on right now. The fourth industrial revolution, building off of the digital revolution, is characterized by representing new ways in which technology becomes embedded within societies and even the human body. The new revolution will be marked by nanotechnology, quantum computing, autonomous vehicles, robotics, AI, and IoT. The new era will disrupt almost every other industry in the world. So what is the implementation of things like Neuralink's brain chip going to look like? Well, I think first it's going to look like something that is voluntary. At least that's how it's going to be presented. But with new technologies that have massive safety implications, we shortly see this evolution from something that starts as something voluntary to something that is mandated. A recent example that I can think of is rear view cameras in your car. At one time it was a cool new technology. Oh, wow. I've got this new car that now I have a camera, so I don't have to use my rear view mirror and, I can see a lot more. Well, that's actually regulated by law now. You have to have a rear view camera on your car. And I think it's going to be kind of similar with these BCIs. Right now, it's a newer technology and a lot of people are probably really unsure about it. I know I am definitely unsure about it. Think about it from a healthcare perspective. Your healthcare costs might go down if you have a BCI. And that might be one of the first incentives. If you have a chip, your healthcare could be very little. But if you don't have the chip, then you'll never be able to afford health insurance because the liability will just be too high. You've got one person who has a committee of superhuman geniuses living in their brain versus another person who's just living off of the good common sense the Lord gave them. That's going to be considered possibly a liability by health insurance companies. Think about how it could limit your job opportunities. In a future where brain microchips are widely adopted and integrated into various professions, individuals without the chip might find themselves at a disadvantage in the job market. Just think of the competition. Look at the ways that AI is replacing entire career fields right now. You might not see it as much in your workplace, but as someone who works in media on a daily basis, I'm seeing skills that at one point were really specialized trades, entire facets of production pipelines being completely replaced by AI. Now instead of hiring a storyboard artist to create every scene of an illustration, you can literally just go to ChatGPT and say, hey, can you create a storyboard for my script? And here's all of the text of my script. And within a couple of minutes, it will totally create storyboards. You can say, hey, adjust this or fix that. and it will do it for you. That is just one example, but AI is fully replacing people that before had very sought after and specialized skills. Financial transactions and security. Financial transactions and security in a society where brain microchips serve as digital wallets or authentication tools for financial transactions. People without the chip that want to pay with cash or card will face higher transaction fees. Why? Because these methods will be deemed as less secure. Think about something like education and training. If brain microchips are integrated into educational systems for enhanced learning and skill acquisition, individuals without the chip may struggle to keep up with the pace of technological advancements. And besides the possibility of missing out on a job opportunity or trying to reduce your healthcare costs, besides just trying to keep up with the Joneses or trying to remain competitive in the world, a lot of people will take them just for the benefits of a technology that makes them feel superior, this pursuit to be almost godlike. And they'll miss the forest for the trees because this technology will be used by a system that is going to be established by the Antichrist to control the world. I firmly believe it. And so right now, it is important that we stay human, but that we stay in our word, that we stay connected to Jesus Christ, that we stay in his spirit, being led by the wisdom of God, knowing that all wisdom comes from God, because there's a way that seems right to the world. Scripture tells us there's a way that seems right to the world, but its end is destruction. I want to end the show today and just remind you, please consider giving. We are entering into the biggest fundraiser that we have ever done in this ministry. We are trying to raise $120,000 because we believe that God is bringing us into the next step of this ministry. IGBY Ministry stands for I Go Before You, and that is the promise that God gave Joshua as he was leading a wandering generation into the promised land. That is the call that we believe that God has put on this ministry, and that wandering generation are our generation, millennials and Gen Z. And for us to reach out to that generation and to deliver the gospel of Jesus Christ, we have to meet them where they are. And what that looks like is generating a lot more content. Right now, we produce one 30-minute show every week. We want to step into a new stage of the ministry where we are developing content every single day of the week, whether that's cutting up the Zach Drew show or some of the other endeavors that we want to do. We want to start producing every week a show diving deeply into the book of Revelation and going from beginning to end, going into current events and tying that into the prophetic word of God. We also want to create a show that is directly targeting millennials and Gen Z and some of the things that they find interesting. Maybe some things that you don't, but something that has really caught fire in this generation are collectible trading cards. And that's something that Zach is passionate about. So it would be a show that probably would dive into a little bit of that, talk about current events, but would always bring it home to talk about the gospel of Jesus Christ. So the hook would be trading cards, current events, but the meat of the show would be the message of the gospel. If you feel compelled, if you feel drawn, if you feel a call on your heart to reach out to this lost and wandering generation, please consider partnering with us today in donations. There's a lot of stuff that we want to do, but frankly, right now, we just don't have the time or the manpower. Right now, I dedicate about 5 hours a week towards editing the show. We want to bring me back on full time and really start generating a lot more content so that we can step into what we feel God has really called us into in this ministry. If you do want to partner with us and give towards this goal, you can give a one-time donation Again, we're trying to reach a goal of $120,000. It's a lot. So if you want to partner with us, then you can give a one-time donation towards that $120,000 goal. You can either go to the Zach Drew Show and hit donate and pay with a Christian payment service called Tithely or through PayPal. Or you can write a check in the mail, and please, in the memo of the check, just let us know that the money that you're donating is going towards this goal. You can send that check to the Zach Drew Show, P.O. Box 797, Decatur, Illinois, 62525. So the one way that we hit the goal is through one-time donations towards that sum. Or if you don't want to give a one-time donation, but you want to up your monthly giving, another way that we can hit this goal is if we raise $6,000 more every month in recurring monthly giving. And you can give monthly, again, by check, or if you go to the Zach Drew Show, hit donate, then there's an option to hit recurring giving. That's probably the way that I would do it. It's easy because it comes out of your account every month. You don't have to think about it until it's time for you to renew your card. So again, if you want to reach millennials and Gen Z, this lost and wandering generation who we have a heart for and we really feel called to reach out to and deliver the gospel, please consider partnering with us. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to see you next week on The Zach Drew Show.